Oh, we're recording. Okay.
I'd rather keep it real with ya.
Happy Sunday, everybody. It's me, Minu, back with another video. I don't even know if I really want to do a video. I'm kind of like all over the place, feeling wise. The universe, I wanted to make this video like last week, but the universe has just been like, no. Yes, Sadie? What you need? What you want, baby? I love you too. I'm not petting you, I'm making a video. Why every time I'm making a video, you want to be petted? I love you too, baby. All right, I'll give you a couple pets. Here you go. Okay. As I was saying, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to make a video because I just been feeling like all over the place. Christmas went fine. I just kind of spent the time like, eating like Mexican and Japanese food and like watching Squid Games. Because I finally got Netflix as a Christmas gift from my manager. So I was able to finally do that. I'm just going to put this over you, Sadie. I was able to finally do that. And so I did that. And I don't know why. I feel like Netflix is acting funny with the VPN. Like I didn't pay for Netflix for them to act funny with my VPN, so I can't watch my Japanese movies. So I don't know what's going on. But it's been kind of like just like crashing randomly. I don't know why. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about something. Pull out my phone. I want to talk about something that was like frustrating me about therapy. I know I mentioned in my Christmas videos, every time I go to therapy, it feels like something new comes up. And I wanted to go in more depth on that. So one of the things that I wanted to say is it is a good thing that every time I go to therapy, something new comes up at this point, because I'm healing and I don't know how I'm healing. I don't know what exactly I'm healing because I can't do traditional EMDR anymore because of the effect it has on my body. So I don't know what's healing, but something's healing. So yay. And so I wanted to talk more about that because it's like, I guess I'm getting over some things. And so I'm starting to have some changes. So one of the things that is starting to happen is, obviously, I talked to you guys about how I don't speak to my mother anymore. She's still trying to find ways to communicate with me since her number's blocked, and whoever it is that she was using to text me from was also blocked. For Christmas, she sent me a card with a Chipotle gift card. Obviously, I took the Chipotle gift card and I threw everything else in the trash. And then she had sent me an email that was all about, like Merry Christmas, blah, blah, blah. I sent it to spam. And then she sent another email. It's like, oh, please just tell me at least that you got the card. And I didn't respond. I deleted it as I was deleting my other spam emails, and I noticed the difference. So the first time she emailed me, and I saw that she had emailed me because I checked my email randomly at night. Was like, oh, let me see what's in my Yahoo email. Because usually it's some junk, but sometimes it's like some promotional stuff or coupons. And I saw the email from her and I was immediately triggered. And I had to like talk to my trauma therapist about it, about how it just felt like, she just wouldn't leave me alone. And like, I just wanted to be left alone. I didn't want to have to think about her. I didn't want to have to interact with her as I was going through my healing process. And the fact that she's still reaching out and she's still pushing just made me really upset, because it just feels like every time I interact with her, I have to feel the weight of all 25 years of our relationship and the weight of all the traumas that she's caused, or all the traumas that she's invalidated me over, or the times that she didn't protect me, or the times that she was the one who did hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, you just feel the weight of all of that from one interaction with her. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot for somebody like me who has a lot of trauma. I was in physical therapy and they were like, oh yeah, so from what I can feel here, you've had trauma as early as the age of 2, which I don't even remember being 2. I just remember being 3, and then I was 8, and then I was like 14. Like, it was my mind. I don't remember a lot of stuff, and that's a defense mechanism. and I'm just gonna let that be what it be. But it's another thing to hear somebody actually like give me a number and be like, yeah, 2. And I was like, fuck. And it's frustrating, but you feel the weight of all of that. Morticia, are you in my dishes? Do I need to come get you? Okay. That took longer than it should have. Morticia knows how to get in like a corner and knows that I can't reach her in that corner. So it took a lot of work. And Sadie like watched me try to grab her and was just like, meow. And I was like, I can't get her. But yeah, Morticia was in my dishes again. Anyway, that's not the point of what I was talking about. But yeah, to have like so much trauma. Not now, Sadie, I'm making a video. To have like all of that trauma and attachment injuries and all of it to be connected to, I would say my trauma therapist identified like 3 people and like who have caused significant amounts of trauma. And there's a whole bunch of other people, don't get me wrong. I got issues with a lot of people in my family, especially when it comes to like gaslighting and invalidating and all of that stuff, and bullying and body shaming and all of that. But anytime there's something with the parents, is gonna cause a trauma. It is gonna. And I had the worst parents. I had like 2 narcissists who found each other, and it just went completely south. So, and then the kids have to deal with the fallout of that, and then the grandkids have to deal with the fallout of that, and possibly also the great grandkids when they're born. Because that's just how far like trauma can travel through the generations. It especially if the people who are affected by it don't get help, and they end up just like traumatizing their children the exact same way that their children, that they were traumatized as when they were children. And I've seen this happen already. So it's just like, it's a lot of stress. But there are some things that I did not realize that were traumas that I wanted to bring up, that I've learned from my trauma therapist and also from my trauma informed physical therapist. So one of the things my physical therapist brought up, because I was talking about things like safety in the bedroom, safety in the bathroom, not really feeling safe in those spaces due to past traumas. And one of the things she asked me about, the physical therapist, was, you know, when you would go to the bathroom, was there always someone like, you know, banging on the door, trying to get in, you know, trying to rush you out of the bathroom? And I was like, well, of course, you know, it was 4 people. And there's 2 bathrooms growing up. There's one in my mom's room, which she never let us use. And then there was the main bathroom. So it was really like 3 kids trying to use the same bathroom. And there were no rules about the bathroom. You know what I mean? There was no, like, my mom never said, hey, if one person's in the bathroom, you have to wait. You know, like, she just kind of let us figure that out amongst each other. Which, because, Sadie, what are you doing? Sadie was using Morticia's toilet. That's totally fine. I didn't know she did that. I was like, what is all this fucking noise? Oh, I have new neighbors across the way. Anyway, but yeah, so she never like put any rules in place or any boundaries. So it was kind of like you just the kids will just figure out, you know, who goes to the bathroom when or whatever. And it didn't work out like that. You know what I mean? My brother, because my mother and my father both had this idea of like the male is better and more important than the female, even though he wasn't even the oldest sibling. So he got away with a lot of things that he shouldn't have. And he also often was not afraid to use like be aggressive or be physical to get what he wanted. And so, you know, when he would demand stuff, he would get what he wanted. And so one of the things was like, if you were in the bathroom, he didn't care that you were in the bathroom. He would bang on the door, open up, I gotta poop, I gotta do da. Like he didn't respect that as a space. And I just have, and I'm sure like maybe my sister did it too, and maybe I even did it, you know, but I can't remember too well. But I explicitly remember my brother being someone who was very entitled because of how spoiled he was. And, you know, he would eat your food, he would take your stuff, he would, you know, if he wanted to be on the computer, he gets to be on the computer. He'll push you out the way if he wants to be on it. And if he wants to use the bathroom and you happen to be in there, too fucking bad. He's going to bang on the door and tell you to come out so that he can do what he got to do, because his bodily functions are more important than yours. And so I told her, I was like, yeah, of course, you know, we were always fighting over the bathroom because we only had one that we could use. Mom didn't let us use the other one. And especially, as we were talking about this, I'm thinking now, I think sometimes she would let us use her bathroom if we were peeing, but never if we were pooping, because it was the bathroom was in her bedroom and she didn't want to deal with that. But like, you know, obviously if she had a boyfriend, she didn't have that rule. But yeah, so it's like the bathroom, I never saw it as like a safe, well, I guess sometimes you can think of it like a safe space. A lot of people think of it like, oh, the first place I run if someone breaks in is the bathroom. But it wasn't really a safe space as I think about it, as I talk about it with my trauma therapist and my PT. And she was like, actually, I have a lot of people who have that trauma. And I was like, trauma? What you mean a trauma? And she's like, yeah, it's a trauma because your boundaries with your body and like this specific function were like not respected. And because people were violating your boundaries, that can cause trauma. And her doing physical therapy is like, she's had several people, several women who have had that issue specifically, where their boundaries around the bathroom were not respected and the bathroom did not get to be a safe place for them like it was for other people. And as a result, it caused them to have issues in terms of like going to the bathroom or like struggling, you know, when you actually did go to the bathroom. And I was like, damn, didn't think that would be an issue, but apparently is. And I feel like there was a lot of things, when I think about just like the carelessness with which my mother raised us, where she kind of just wanted us to figure shit out on our own and didn't really take the reins and say, hey, this is how we're going to like respect each other, caused more damage than I think I would have thought that it did. Because of course my mom doesn't believe that she did anything wrong. She's like, nah, I was a great parent. What you talking about? Why are you complaining? You know, and she's like, oh, siblings fight all the time. It's totally normal. And it's like, I don't think she understood the difference between sibling rivalry and abuse. And so I think that was like I feel like there were lines crossed in a lot of situations, that even my siblings probably don't want to acknowledge. My sister did acknowledge it at one point and we had a conversation about it. My brother's not going to acknowledge it. He's not. He's too spoiled. He's too entitled. Why would he apologize? Everybody else would just agree with him. So, sorry, I'm not trying to be salty right now, but I'm trying to like talk about things that may seem normal, but can lead to issues. So that was one of the things that I spoke about. Another thing that comes up, and let me pull up my phone real quick because I had to take notes. I know it's a difficult therapy session when I'm taking notes and I have to like go back to them. But let me make a point about gaslighting real quick. So as someone who has been gaslit my entire life, it kind of frustrates me now that I know that what happened to me was gaslighting. It frustrates me that people don't know what gaslighting actually is, and they are just throwing this term around on the internet and using it in ways that it shouldn't be used. And then it being like, and then people like, that boyfriend that I didn't like, when he disagreed with me about something, he was gaslighting me. I knew it. He's a narcissist. Da, 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 da. And I was like, disagreeing with you about something is not the same thing as gaslighting. Gaslighting is when somebody makes you feel crazy. They make you feel like your version of reality is not what reality is. And I got that a lot from my family as a way to ignore, like what happened to me, by either saying that it didn't happen or that it did, but I read the situation wrong. I interpreted the situation wrong, and, or I'm choosing to be mad about something. But a lot of it was based around like your version of reality is not real. And, we're all trying to get you to see what reality is. But in reality, they were trying to trick me into thinking that things happened that didn't, or thinking that things that I knew to happen didn't happen. You know what I mean? Especially if it was something where it was like my mom was the witness, but she didn't want anyone to know. So it was like, we got to convince her that this thing didn't happen. And I'm like, I know it fucking happened. But that's kind of how gaslighting works. It's supposed to make you feel like you're not in touch with reality. It's not the same thing as someone disagreeing with you. Like if you tell someone, hey, it really hurt me when you said my macaroni sucked last night, and the person says something like, I never said that. What are you talking about? I never said anything about your macaroni. I actually said that your macaroni was good. Why are you acting like I said something else? Like, you're crazy. Like, that's gaslighting. If they say, okay, yeah, I said your macaroni was sucked, but you know, I didn't think you'd take it so hard, or I didn't think you'd be so sensitive about it. You know, like I was just telling you what the macaroni tasted like. That's not gaslighting. That's like, they admitted that they did what they did. They admitted that what happened is what happened and that your version of reality is true, but they're disagreeing with you about the whole being upset about it. And that can be invalidating your feelings. Yes. You know, that person could be a total dick, but they're not gaslighting you because they're acknowledging what happened did really happen. So that's the difference. So when I see people sharing stuff online and they're talking about, oh yeah, when my ex, got upset with me for being upset with him about something he did, or like when my ex and I were talking and he said, yeah, I did cheat on you, but I don't understand why you're making me feel bad. That's not gaslighting. That's, they admitted that they did cheat on you. It'd be different if they said, I never cheated on you, you're making this up. But if they admitted that they did it and they acknowledge that what you're saying is true, they're not gaslighting you. They're being a dick. They're invalidating your feelings. They're trying to guilt trip you, shame you, whatever. Those are things that are awful and should be called out, but they're not gaslighting. And I need y'all to understand the difference, because it's actually very harmful if you're going to throw around that term like that, because when you overuse it like that, it makes the term not valid anymore. Because then for me to come in and say, yeah, I was gaslit my whole life, people are going to say, oh, there you go, throwing around those terms just like everybody else on the internet does. Now it doesn't mean anything. And I guess, do I really be talking a lot about us messing with the meaning of words? Interesting. But yeah, so I wanted to like throw that little rant in there about gaslighting. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is kind of a little connected to gaslighting, but the silencing. So I was in this women's group. The women's group ended and we all went out to eat with my trauma therapist. We all went out to eat as a group at this like place with tacos and everything. And it wasn't so bad. Like, the first thing I did when I sat down was I sat at the very end and I left a lot of space between me and everyone else at the table. My trauma therapist immediately noticed this and was like, Mina, move down. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, move in, move closer. I was like, I sat here on purpose though. She was like, I know, move in, move closer. And I was like, damn, she got me. She's so perceptive. And then afterwards we were talking about it and I was like, man, I just really hope that I didn't talk too much. And then she was like, because I've said this multiple times, you know, like, oh, I'm talking too much. I need to let other people speak. And so she said to me, she was like, you know, you don't talk as much as you think you do, right? And I was like, what do you mean? I never shut up. What are you talking about? I always talk too much. It annoys everybody that I talk too much. And she was like, yeah, but we had this discussion with the group and everyone agreed that you don't talk that much. And I was like, what are you talking about? I do talk too much. Like, I don't understand. Huh? And she was like, no, you listen to what other people are saying and you observe what other people are saying and doing, and then you choose when you want to interject and when you want to speak. And you're not talking too much. You're being very careful about when you do talk. And I'm like, yeah, because I gotta like overcorrect myself because I talk too much. And she was like, you don't though. And I was just like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And so we had to like dive into it and come to the realization, oh, who says I talk too much? Not my friends. And I'm like, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, when I was in college, I would sit for hours with my friends and we would talk about everything, politics, gender, whatever. But it was an equal exchange. It wasn't just me talking. And so it's like, who says I talk too much? Oh, right. My mom and my family. They're the ones who say I talk too much. They're the ones who say I never shut up and I have to be ignored. Like, literally would be like, we have to ignore you. We have to tune you out because you talk too much. And I can explicitly remember situations where I would like strike up a conversation with someone and they would look at me like they know I'm talking to them, and then they would just look away as I'm talking to them. They're not looking away to talk to someone else, mind you. There's no one there. There might not even be anyone else there, or there's no one else talking. They would look at me and then look away to ignore me. And then I'd be like, why are you ignoring me? Like, I'm talking to you. And they would just ignore me. And I'd be like, and it would drive me crazy. Like my brother would do this a lot, to the point where I would even start screaming at him, like, listen to me, like I'm talking to you. Why the fuck is you looking at the wall and I'm trying to have a conversation with you about, like, you know, what you were doing yesterday or something like that. Just normal ass conversation. And there'd be times when I'd be with my family and I'd be talking and people would just act like I'm not talking at all. And they would like start talking to each other, or they'll look away, but they just would act like I'm not talking at all. And I had one cousin in particular who, she couldn't ignore me. I don't know what it was, but like she just was too tuned in or something. So she would acknowledge that I'm speaking, but then say, damn, you never shut up. Like, you just got here. Why are you talking already? And I didn't understand. Well, I understood that the idea is that, you know, you talk too much, shut up. But it's like, you know, if I come over your house to hang out with you and I start telling you about my life or how my day was, that's like normal. And I get that that's normal now. But like, I would come over there, sit down on the couch with them, start talking to them. They'd be like, oh, how's this going? Like, sometimes they'll ask, sometimes they won't. And I'd be like, oh, this is how college is going. Or, oh, here's a funny story. And they'd be like, damn, you just got in the door. Why are you always talking? You're already talking. Like, Minu, shut up for a minute. And I'd be like, okay. And then I would get quiet and not say too much for them. And like, after a few years, it's like, oh, how's school going? How's this going? How's this going? And I'd be like, oh, it's fine. Because I know that if I actually start going into it and talking, they're going to be like, there you go, talking a lot, even if they're the one that asked me a question. And so like, I'm having this conversation with my therapist and I'm just like, so what you're saying is I don't talk a lot, but everybody was convinced that I did. And everybody wanted me to shut up all the time. And then we started thinking even more and we were like, what now? Why is it that you, the truth teller, the one who is often gaslit, the one who is often very honest about the things that happen to her and happen around her, is the one that everyone says talks too much and needs to shut up? And I was like, I got even more frustrated. I was like, ain't this about some bullshit? These motherfuckers. I don't know who started it. I don't want to blame my mom, but also she didn't stop them. There's a lot of times I'm like, I can't pinpoint if it was my mom who started something, but I can pinpoint the fact that I've talked to her about these things multiple times and she's ignored me, invalidated me, and refused to help. And I can tell that there are some times when my family will say things that I know she's gone to them and said to them, because there's no way that they would know these things without her telling them, because it was just me and her there when the situation happened. So I was like, I'm still suspicious. I don't want to blame everything on my mom, but that is the person who raised me most of my life. I definitely had some issues with my dad, but I didn't live with him. I lived with her. So there's a lot of issues there. She's a big part of my issues, and the trauma therapist agrees. But I want to say, if I'm being logical here, because I'm very logical, very analytical. If I'm being logical here, I often annoyed my mother mostly. And my father to an extent whenever I was around him, whenever he decided he wanted to be in my life, because I was always telling the truth about stuff. So, you know, all of that, what happens in the house, stays in the house, stuff. They would tell me that as a kid and I'd be like, no. I'd be like, no, I don't want what happened in the house to stay in the house. I'm upset. You know what I mean? And my mom was like, you can't keep telling people my business. Like, you gotta be quiet. And I would tell people stuff because I needed to tell somebody something. Like, nobody was listening to me at home. And I got to a point at a certain age, I don't remember, trauma brain, where I was literally like, okay, I won't say anything that happens to mom, but if something happens to me directly, I have the right to speak up about that, because that happened to me. I'm not telling mom's business. I'm telling my business. And even then, my mom would be pissed because I would make other people look bad by talking about what they did to me. And so I wonder if, from a logical perspective, it made sense for my mom and her to influence my siblings to do the same, to spread this narrative of, I talk too much and I need to be told to shut up on a regular basis, as a way of silencing me, so that nobody would listen to me when I spoke up about abuses. You know, it was one thing to speak up about how my mom was being abused. She didn't want me telling people all of that. But then to speak up about how I was being abused, and to have everybody, silence me, look away, tell me to shut up, I talk too much, not believe me, or be like, I don't believe it happened like that. I believe you're making this up. I believe you're over exaggerating. That person who hurt you in that way, they're a really nice person. And if you would just hang out with them and give them a chance, you guys would have a great relationship. Like, it's your fault that your father doesn't want to be in your life. And I'm like, how? I'm 8. You know what I mean? But like, that's kind of like how all of that would go, is like with the gaslighting and the silencing, because I was the one who was going to point out things that were wrong. I was the one who was going to say, hey, this is wrong. Hey, when you did that to me, that really hurt my feelings. And I feel like, maybe I want to talk about my trauma. Maybe I want to talk about some type of abuse that I experienced. But it's already been set up and established in the family that I'm like lying, I'm over exaggerating, I talk too much, and my voice is annoying and like all of that stuff. And it's so weird because some of you are like, oh, I like the sound of your voice. And I'm like, huh? But it's like, that is like the stuff that they've told me like my whole life. It's like, and it makes sense, because if they were to actually listen to me and hear me, they would have to change. And they don't want to change. So then it makes sense that I have to be silenced. So that was another thing that came up that frustrated me. Oh, look at the time. I go a little bit long. So I'll talk a little bit about dissociation, and maybe we'll pick it up in another video. I never thought of myself as someone who dissociated. Like, from what I've heard and read about dissociation, it never seemed to apply to me. Even with my other therapist, I'd be like, did I dissociate in this situation where I literally felt like I was having an out of body experience during a traumatic event? And she was like, I don't know. That's kind of how her responses would always be. But like with my trauma therapist, I guess she's an expert on dissociation, because like she been telling me that I do it all the time. And I was so confused. And she was like, hey, when you are driving and you get home and then you suddenly don't remember how you got home, you were dissociating and your body went on autopilot, but you ended up getting home. I was like, what? And then it'd be like, oh, how you nap to avoid your problems? You were dissociating. And I was like, how? And she was like, apparently there's a spectrum of dissociation. So there's extremes, which one time I did have a whole full blackout. And it was after watching this 3-hour video about this cop who was targeting Black women to sexually abuse them, and like going into detail of every single woman he abused was like 20, 30 women or something. And I straight up blacked out for like 45 minutes. And that was scary. But it's like, it can be like that, or it can be like someone who kind of like retreats into their mind to escape things, which I would have done a lot as a child. Dealing with trauma and like violence and abuse. And then there's also another form that I didn't know about. The way I read is a form of dissociation. What the fuck? You're reading, really? And so apparently, because the things that I enjoy, like reading, playing video games, watching horror movies, whatever, I do that all. I've done all of that as an escape. You escape into a different world when you're playing a video game, when you're watching a movie, when you're reading a book. And it's been really hard for me to do those things lately. And I say lately, I mean like this year, last year, the whole pandemic, really, it's been really hard for me to do those things. And I thought that it was because I was like so hyper vigilant and it's hard to relax, which part of it is that. But she also told me that because you're healing, your body, your brain associates these activities with escaping from trauma or escaping from a bad situation. And because you're not in a bad situation, your brain is telling you, nah, we don't need to do that right now. And so when I'm trying to like read a book and like escape into the book, or like play a video game and escape to a video game, it's like my brain makes it hard. My brain is like, we don't want to do that. And I'm like, no, but I do though. Like, I have over 200 games in my library. I want to start playing these games. And my brain's like, nah, let's do something else. And I'll be like, what is happening? Why can't I do the things that I enjoy or that I used to enjoy? Now that I have all this free time with a job that like gives me vacation and stuff. And literally she said, is because you were using those things to dissociate, to escape from your reality. And now you don't need to escape your reality anymore. Your reality is much better now than it was when you were a kid. So you don't need to escape. So then your brain doesn't want you to do things that make you escape, because you can just be present and relax. And I was just like, but I want to play my video games though. And I want to read stories and enjoy them. And she's like, you can, but it's going to be really hard because your brain doesn't want you to escape from reality anymore. And I was just like, damn. And it's weird because she says like this is a part of healing. Like this is because you're getting better that you are having a hard time doing these things. And I was telling this to somebody else I know. I have a lot of friends with trauma, and they were saying, oh, so it's a good thing that I don't enjoy the things I used to enjoy anymore. And I was like, well, looking at your situation, let's not confuse things. Okay. You're in a traumatic situation in an abusive household with people who treat you poorly. You not enjoying the things you used to enjoy is probably depression. So understand the difference. If you're in a very, very stressful situation, like you're living with someone who's abusive and you hate life, and you're sad a lot, not enjoying the things that you used to enjoy is probably depression. But if you are like me, who supposedly has it all together, at least, outside of my body, I guess. I don't know the term, but, you're financially stable. You pay your own bills. You got a good job. You got your cats. I'm safe. My body and brain may not feel like it. They may not believe me, but I am safe. I am in a good place. So for me to be safe and in a good place and be struggling to relax and struggling to do things that I enjoy, there's something else there. You know what I mean? So it's understand the difference. It's not just the one thing of like, oh, if you don't enjoy the things you used to is good. No, it's if you are safe and you are in a good place where your mood is good, you haven't had a depressive episode in a very long time, nothing is triggering you, you're not sad. And then you're struggling to do the things that you used to do back when you were depressed and sad, or you were in a difficult situation. Is probably because your brain is healing and it's not allowing you to dissociate as much as you used to when you were actively in a dangerous situation. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but it's just weird to think of myself as someone who dissociates, because I've always thought of dissociation as that multiple personality thing where people like, because of trauma, their brain just switches to a different person and then they just black out for who knows how long. And then I thought of dissociation as you literally just black out in different situations and you just don't remember stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't remember a lot of shit, but I don't remember blacking out specifically. I just remember not remembering stuff. But those were the things that I want to talk about. Let me make sure. So, reading specifically, when I read, the way that we learn to read is word by word. But when I read, it's literally like playing a movie in my brain and being completely absorbed in it, which is why it can take me longer to finish reading something than someone else, because someone else can just read the words and be like, blah, 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 blah. Yep, my brain has recorded the words in the page and move on to the next page. And then other people will read and they're just like reading the words and they'll be like, I understand what this says. But me, I literally have to like envision everything in my head. Even when I'm reading in Japanese or Spanish and I have to like slow down to like actually visualize in my head what is going on in this story. All of that is part of dissociation. Like I cannot read in a way that I just read the words and I'm good. I literally have to put my mind in that space, which is why it can be really, really hard to read, which is frustrating because I have all these books in Japanese and Spanish and I want to read them, but it's hard to get my brain to focus because my brain is like, we don't need to dissociate right now. What you talk about, ma'am? We good. And I'm like, no, I want to read the books, or I want to watch the movie, or I want to get into this show. And my brain is like, we don't need to dissociate, honey. We safe. We're good. And so it's like a conversation between me and my inner child or something, and be like, hey, you can be safe and also watch Netflix. Like it's $16 a month. Okay. We gotta be using the Netflix. Okay. And my inner child is just like, you only need to read when you're not safe. I hope all of this is making sense to you guys. I just wanted to talk about that. We're in the new year. These holidays, like, I just sleep through them. Honestly, I really do. I don't really register the fact that it's like a new year. It doesn't feel like a new year. Still feels like 2020, honestly. But I don't think of it as being like the year itself was shitty. Like, I don't think of it like that. I think of it more along the lines of there was a lot of change that was forced upon a lot of people in the past 2 years, whether that is people dying and them grieving them, or that was like, losing your job and your sense of safety. It's just like a lot of things have changed. There's been a year. These have been past 2 years of like a whole bunch of change, whether that is good or bad, it's change. And I kind of look at it like that. You may have had plans at the beginning of the year that didn't go so well. That's fine. This is a year of change. And I don't think of it as like a bad year or a good year. Obviously, I'm gonna miss Betty White. I didn't even know she died. My friend was just posting on Facebook and I was like, what you talking about? Like, it's not even her 100th birthday yet. And she was like, bitch, she died. And I was like, no, how can you die the last day of 2021? Fucking love to go to girls, man. But yeah, it's just been a lot of change these past 2 years. I'm interested to see how these are going to show up in history books in the future, because there's a lot going on and a lot to keep track of. But the best we can do is focus on our mental health and our physical health. Try to avoid large crowds. I've been getting sick like on and off. I don't think it's COVID. I think it's like my anxiety making me feel really nervous, because I already have social anxiety, and knowing that my entire city is sick with COVID makes me feel really, really nervous when I have to leave the house. And then with the weather changing and my allergies, it makes it even easier not to leave the house. But it's just a lot of stuff going on, and the best you can do is kind of like take it day by day and just focus on what's going to make you happy in that day, whether it's eating something or watching something or playing a game or talking on the phone with your friend. Just focusing on that and not trying to think so much about like this whole year or the next 6 months or all of that stuff. And even my therapist, like, I'm behind on medical bills. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm behind on payments for my physical therapist. I'm behind on payments for my regular therapist. And even they are like, listen, we know you're going to pay those bills. Don't stress yourself to death about paying us. We know you're going to pay us. Don't worry too much about it. And so I'm trying not to, but it's hard. But, every day I just try to do what makes me happy. I'm still doing the workouts. I'm still trying to eat a little bit better. I think for the past couple weeks, I've been eating not super bad, but I haven't cooked. I didn't cook for Christmas, and I ain't cooked since Christmas. So I probably should get back into cooking so I can like eat more like vegetables and stuff. I just be eating a lot of Asian food, which it's not too bad to eat a lot of Asian food, but soy sauce is a lot of sodium. But anyway, I'm gonna let y'all go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday and enjoy the rest of your week. Like I said, take it day by day. Focus on your mental health. Focus on your physical health. Make sure you're sleeping. Make sure you're drinking your water, and you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. You just have to focus on what's most important, which is you, not someone else, not making other people feel good. Just focusing on what makes you feel good each day. And you're going to notice a change. One day you're going to look up and be like, damn, I feel better. And you didn't even notice it. So I just want to thank you guys for all the support that you've been giving. I know I did post about the Patreon. Don't worry about all of that. Like, as long as I'm getting like your comments and we're having our dialogues and we're supporting each other and caring about each other, that's what makes me most happy. And what else should I say? I don't know. That's all I want to say. I love you guys. You're great. You're great. I appreciate all of you. And I hope that you will, stay with me as I make more videos and on my journey of healing from every fucking thing that's wrong with me. And I will see you in the next video. Don't know what it's going to be, but I hope to see you there. Bye.